Good morning. My name is Sai. I am the CMO at ShareID. One question that's top of mind for many of the marketers in the room is, how do I acquire loyal customers in a noisy marketplace? The reality is we have hundreds of box subscription companies, so how do you rise above the noise? Over the last few years, we have worked with leading brands in different verticals, whether it is Nike or Urban Outfitters or Headspace or Comcast, on customer acquisition programs. So what I would like to do today is share some lessons we learned working with them, and some of the lessons are applicable to the subscription business. Let's start with some good news. Many of you might have seen this. McKinsey did a report late last year around how big is the box subscription business. They estimated around $10 billion. Seems like a big number. Do keep in mind, $5 billion of it is actually the top 10, 15 guys. This is the people like the Ipsies and the BarkBox and the Birchbox, Dollar Shave Club. But the rest, $5 billion, is spread across hundreds, if not thousands, of subscription players. Now, having said that, and it's been growing at a tremendous rate year over year, having said that, the room for growth is still plenty. The reason is, if you look at today, the penetration of box subscription is 1/3 the penetration of media subscriptions. And even media subscriptions is only less than half penetration in the US. So that means that there's plenty of room for growth. The question is not, is there an opportunity? It's more about, can you as a brand rise above the noise to stand out? The marketing is a bigger challenge in this space rather than actually the product in many cases. The challenges, I hinted to you. One of the challenges is cost of customer acquisition. Customer acquisition costs have been going up about 50% over the last 5 years, according to Adobe. Every one of us are using the same Google, Facebook, Instagram, and increasingly Amazon as channels, paid channels. The second is, which surprised me when I was looking at doing some research on this topic, the monthly churn rate in this industry is really high. It's between 12 to 15% monthly churn rate, which is more than double even in media subscription. And the best media subscription companies have around 3 to 4% or less than that. So that's a bigger problem. So if you're able to only retain your customer for 3 to 4 months or 5 months, it's not a sustainable business. So what's causing this? As I said, it's all the brands are using the same paid channels. As I said, it's Google, Facebook, Instagram. So how can you rise above the noise? Increasingly, costs are going up in those channels. The second one is offers. Almost all of us have a similar introductory offer. We'll give them 1 month, first month, or first 3 months, some kind of discounted offer. So it's very difficult to stand above the noise just by price discount in the very first few months. And also, the introductory offer, the time period is so short that it's not really habit forming. If it's not habit forming, that's the reason why most subscription players, what they'll see is they'll see a lot of drop off in the first 6 months. A friend of mine, he runs operations at Stitch Fix. They have been really successful partly because they give enough time for the user to personalize their product, curate their offering over time with continuous feedback. So beyond the 6 months, they're very sticky. So what you have to figure out is, how long is my introductory offer and how can I keep it sticky? And the last one, we did a survey 6 months ago with WBR. We surveyed a bunch of, I think, few hundred B2C marketers. Every significant part of them, they all said they're going to spend more money this year than last year in marketing. So a combination of spending more money, the same channels, and similar offers is what is causing this problem. So what I want to do, and no wonder in the same survey, the marketers are under increased pressure. 3/4 of them said that they're under more pressure this year than last year. Now, I was like, who's the rest 23% or less pressure? Probably work for Amazon Prime, I guess. So it feels like you're in a constant treadmill trying to meet your acquisition targets. So what we will do is let's look at a few examples. Now, these are from other industries, but can we pick up some techniques or some strategies that are applicable to the box subscription business? The first thing we have seen is focus. The market is big, but who is your core buyer? So most marketers have a good understanding of it. It's typically demographics, age, gender, income. The more sophisticated ones have psychographic profiles. They have customer data platforms. They use that to figure out, okay, who is the right persona. Increasingly, what we're seeing with some of the brands is they're taking that demographic data and persona and mapping it to the social identity of that individual. Who does the consumer feel they are and what group they belong to? So let me give you a couple of examples to bring it to life. The first one is Spotify. These guys are, as you know, the biggest music subscription player in the world. They have made a conscious choice that they want to acquire the next generation customer. That's the Gen Z audience. Many of them are still in college. So they now offer a student subscription plan just for consumers. Now, the reason is partly because the earlier you get them in their life, it's more habit forming. And in their case, what blew my mind was over 90% of students convert to full price after about 2 years. That's across not just Spotify, across other media streaming companies too. So now, I'm not saying this is applicable to every box subscription company. Depending on who you're targeting, if it's a younger demographic, there's an opportunity to give a compelling offer to students so when they graduate, they stick with you. This is what we're seeing in the media subscription base. The other one is Kettlebell Kitchen. Kettlebell Kitchen is a meal subscription company. It was founded by Andrew and I forget his other co-founder's name. These guys are both worked in offices in the Army. When they started this company, they wanted to focus on military and first responders. It worked out well for a couple of reasons. One, it was part of their core mission for the brand. Second, they realized that one of the priorities for people in first responder community and the military is health and fitness, so it aligned with what they're trying to do. Second, it's a big market. There are 37 million members in the military community today. That includes veterans, retirees, active duty, and their families. And the first responder community is about 4 million, including, I haven't even included some of the voluntary firefighters and things like that. So it's a sizable market, but what they have done is they've focused their brand. Now this is the segment we want to go after. And the third distinguishing, because of that, they're able to differentiate themselves from all the other meal subscription companies. So as a brand, as a niche, you have much better chance of success early on, being very focused and being niche. What's your niche? What is the niche you're going after? Because what we see is because the market is so large, over the next few years, we will see some of the bigger brands actually coming into subscription-based businesses. You're already seeing with Walmart, and I think a few weeks ago, Urban Outfitters announced the same thing. So you'll see more of those coming in. The question for you then would be, okay, what is the audience you're going to focus on and own? So once you defined your audience and the social group you want to focus on, how do you create a habit-forming exclusive offer? As I was saying, most of us have introductory offers which are too short in time duration that they're not really habit-forming. What is a gated exclusive offer? So the brands creates an exclusive offer that are designed to target a specific social group. That could be based on occupation, like teachers, military, nurses. It could be based on life stage, students, seniors, or an affiliation. It could be a member of the AARP. Let me walk through a couple of examples. YouTube, just like earlier I talked about Spotify, they also said we're going to focus on students. Now YouTube, I think last year, they launched their YouTube Premium program. This was, before that they had YouTube Music and YouTube, they combined all of that in YouTube Premium at $12 a month, and they offered to students half price. Once again, similar story, they understand the dynamics of we need to invest early on so that we can reap rewards for gaining long-term customers. One of the interesting things a lot of the media subscription companies have done is they have actually gone back and asked their suppliers, in this case, the labels, saying that, hey, if you're going to give a discount to students, these are our long-term customers, you need to take half the royalties. And we've seen a similar thing Lowe's do with their military offerings. They would go back to some of the home goods companies and say, hey, we're doing this offer, you need to share the burden. So that's another thing to think about in your businesses. Are there some segments you can go after and actually not bear all the burden, but actually share it with your suppliers upstream? The second one is Headspace. I don't know how many of you use Headspace. Headspace, great. Headspace is a meditation app. It's a subscription, monthly subscription or an annual subscription. They are focused on social impact. So one of the segments they really want to focus was educators. There are 6 million educators in the United States, all of them K-12 and universities. They are pivotal to our society. They influence our kids 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 months a year. So the question is, so they want to really give a compelling offer to the teachers, and that's what they were focusing on. They recently actually just launched another offer focused on medical professionals. So they're continuously looking at what segments, micro segments do we want to go after. Now in all these exclusive offers to work, they need to be gated. Essentially, a consumer verifies that they're eligible for that offer. Now, it may sound counterintuitive, and we've seen this across all the brands. Even though adding an additional step of verification where you're asking somebody what's your date of birth is actually improving conversion rates. A couple of reasons. One, the target, the consumer feels special because now it's truly exclusive just for me or the tribe I belong to. That's one. The second one is important for you guys is it keeps it truly exclusive, because what you don't want is something like this to go viral and then you cannibalize all your market. So because of verification, you ensure only the targeted group can take advantage of it in an online world. Why does it work? I alluded to this. One is personal. It's talking to me as an individual who I identify with and the group I identify with. Second, it's shared. Because a lot of these offers are targeted at hero segments, so hero segments I would say are segments like teachers, military, nurses. They're very tight-knit communities, even students for that matter. So when a user has a great experience with your offer, they're naturally set up for word of mouth. So that's why it's shared a lot more in those communities. And last but not the least, as I said before, is exclusive. When you have, because it's limited to a specific group and a specific time, it drives action. So we're seeing significant conversion rates, 3x typical conversion rates. Now that doesn't mean it works for every one of you, right? So we have to make sure it aligns with your brand. What segments align with your brand? Because you're combining brand marketing and performance marketing here. So once you have your core growth segment and create an exclusive offer, now how do you make this, how do you message this offer? Now this is very dependent on the segment you're going after. When we did a survey with Kelton, with consumers, how they perceive exclusive offers, it really creates an emotional lift to those who receive them. More than half said they felt special. Many said they felt honored or excited. So But the messaging matters. Now, if you're targeting hero segments, you always lead with honoring their service. The actual pricing comes later. You start with that message. And in this case, Kettlebell Kitchen, their message is giving back to those give so much. So that's the messaging typically you lead with. By the way, they have seen a tremendous increase in that segment because they focus on segment. They already saw, I believe, 3x in penetration in the military segment. The next example is Comcast Xfinity. They launched last year internet subscription service targeting college students. Students, you lead with price. Not every exclusive offer has to be over price discounts, but if you're talking to students, you're leading with price. But you also have a time limit, which incents action. So you've identified the core segment you want to go after, the tribe or social group you want to go after. Then you create an exclusive offer. Then you have created the right messaging. Now, how do you get the word out? So this is where, I'll take an example here of Headspace, right? So they have partnerships with companies like Spotify. They're using social quite a bit. They also do email campaigns. They also are doing offline, on-campus events to target. In this particular case, they're also targeting students. In general, what we have seen the leading brands do is you would use all the primary channels you're already using. In many ways, if your offer is compelling enough, it will go viral. But you're OK with that because there's a gating happening on your landing page, which ensures only the target audience can take advantage of the offer. I'll give you an example of another company, completely different industry, T-Mobile. T-Mobile had a big corporate-wide initiative called T-Mobile One program last year. It was about hiring 10,000 veterans into the workforce. It was about a variety of veterans initiatives and specific grants for that. And last but not the least, there was an exclusive offer to all military families, 50% off family plans. This was a unique case where they put their entire brand marketing behind that message about supporting the military community. You might have seen ads, and they promoted across all channels. You might have seen ads last year in baseball. They were talking about T-Mobile's commitment to the military. They have seen tremendous success to the point where in a recent quarterly earnings call, their president said, these targeted segment promotions have had a significant impact on not only their revenue, but also loyalty, because they were able to measure loyalty through NPS scores. By nature, because these offers we're talking, this is just one technique, right? There are multiple ways you can acquire customers. If you're using the technique of social offers based on social group or social offers, gated offers, by nature, word of mouth is big in those communities. So almost all the top brands use social media to elevate the message as well as really create their word of mouth through referrals through social media. In the same survey we did, we asked consumers their attitude towards targeted offers. They said like 91% of them said that they're willing to share a compelling offer with friends and family. But more importantly, vast majority of them said they will share with their peers in their professional group, whether it is teachers or military. So there's an opportunity, if it's the right product, there's an opportunity for you to tap into that. One of the companies recently, we worked with Rothy's, they make shoes. They realized their demographic were women of a particular age group, and they realized that aligns very well with nurses and teachers. So what they're doing is at different times of the year, they will do nurses appreciation or teacher appreciation to target that segment. In many cases, they're actually they're selling away last year's inventory. So in summary, I want to leave you with a few thoughts, and I'll take question answers here. How can we build an emotional connection with the end user so that turns into long-term customers? One, you map your core buyer to the social group they identify with. You create an exclusive offer. It doesn't have to be just price discounts. Then you tune the message based on that audience. And then you embed that offer, and you actually use all the primary channels you're using to push that offer out, because you have a backstop, which is your verification, to ensure only the targeted audience gets that offer. And last but not the least, you don't forget social, because by nature you're targeting social groups here. You leverage social to get the word out and create the referral effect. As I said in the beginning, the market is big. The challenge is not the appetite. I would think we're still in the first innings of box subscription business. So the market is big. The challenge really is, how do you rise above the noise in terms of marketing spend? How can you make sure you're not spending all your marketing dollars with increased acquisition cost and not able to retain them? So this is one technique which could work for some of you guys depending on the audience you're going after. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you. Yeah. You have a mic here?
So you mentioned, thank you. You mentioned teachers, military, nurses. Are there other groups that you typically see people targeting?
So what we found is, it very much depends on society and culture. In the US, it's okay to have exclusive offers targeting everyday heroes. Okay? Typically that falls under medical professionals, teachers, first responders, military. That's typically what it is, or students and seniors. If you go internationally, it's mostly students and seniors, maybe first responders. Military is not as big a segment. So it depends on the geography you're operating in. That's what I would say works. Go ahead.
So when you talk about offering to specific segments, something like students and nurses, how do you verify that? Because I know some of these require you to put in all that information, but how do you really know that somebody's not taking advantage of that?
Yeah. So what we have seen, and that's where my sales hat has to come in, but we'll have somebody else talk to you about that. So the challenge when you don't verify, we found, is discount abuse is upwards of 35%. 1 in 3 or 1 in 4. We actually did a study for Amazon a while ago, and the Student Prime membership, they gave us a list of all the people who are supposedly going to University of California, Berkeley. That was more than the population of entire Berkeley. So, I'm not going to say there are not a few people here who are not students, but still using Student Prime. So look, the reality is, people think of it as a white lie. It's not considered fraud. Hey man, have I used my email from 20 years ago and Apple to get 10% discount? Don't ask me that question. So that's where you need some kind of verification play. There are several vendors out there. ShareID is one of them. So for example, for students, when we work with Spotify, what we do is we directly tie into University of Registrar's office records. Now we're able to do that because with explicit consent. We are GDPR compliant before GDPR came about, because consumer says, hey, verify me because I want that deal. So in real time, we hit variety of databases, and then we'll tell, yes, this person is a student or not. Same thing with military. We hit 13 different military databases, including the Department of Defense. Once again, we're able to do that because the consumer is saying, go ahead and verify me so that I can get that deal.
I wish we had more time for questions, because I could just keep listening. Lots of information.
We have a booth downstairs. Feel free to stop by. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.